What does a drift car look like to you? My guess is probably something like this. Or perhaps something a little more like this. But I'll bet you never expected something like this to be a capable drift car. Today, I'm once again testing some of the weirdest and most obscure vehicles GTA 5 has to offer to continue my search for the most cursed drift builds possible. Now in the last one, you guys absolutely killed it with support, so if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content just like it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to see more GTA 5 drifting content, check out my drifting playlist for regular guides, drift builds and tips. With all of that being said, let's get straight into the video. To start off our hunt for the most ridiculous drift build, we've got the Toreador. Normally, these will be terrorizing Mark II users in free mode, but today we're gonna make history as this thing tries its hand at drifting. Let's throw on some low grips and take it out for a spin. So now that we're out on the track, how it handles is honestly pretty nice. This thing right off the bat is super slippery and the control is not bad at all. The clutch kick on this car is also pretty strong, which is a great bonus for it, giving you a lot of power in those corners. And it does have a little bit of body roll, but honestly, it doesn't really affect the car. Really enjoying how this thing handles. It's super smooth in the corners and it just has the right amount of oversteer. It is a little snappy in some of those quicker drifts, but overall, the control on this thing is amazing. Now one thing I do want to try out, I'm a little bit curious about, is what will happen if I try drifting with some boost. The boost on this thing is nuts. It's very difficult to control. I can get some of those slides in there, but nothing super consistent. Curious to see if anyone can pull any crazy drifts off with this. Let me hear about it in the comments. Overall, the Toreador has been a pleasant surprise, handling really well in the corners and proving itself to be a capable drifter. If you're trying to mix up that drifting experience, I definitely recommend you give this thing a shot. To truly slide in style, we're going to build a drift car for the gentleman. And what better platform than the Stafford? But how will a classic Rolls-Royce fare as a drift car? Let's find out. So let's give it a quick test and then try stancing it to see how it feels. At the minute, it's pretty smooth in those corners. It's feeling a little bit challenging to keep it steady and it is a bit weighty, but so far it's honestly not too bad. You can hold a decent line with it and I'd say it's pretty fitting for a Rolls-Royce to behave like this. More about style and speed, kind of going elegantly through those corners. It's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and stance it and see how it acts then. So now that we've stanced this thing, the oversteer is going off. This thing is definitely going to catch you out if you're not careful. And it really wants to kick out in the back. I know that Rolls-Royce badge might be fooling a few of you, but don't let it. This thing has got some good power to it. It is still fairly technical to handle, and especially once stanced, I'm really having to pay attention to that throttle and steering input. But because I've stanced it, it's a lot more slippery. I'm getting a lot crazier angles in there, and this thing is honestly feeling pretty fluid for a drift car. I'm really liking it. It's handling quite well. And honestly, it's impressed me. Overall, I think it's a nice change of pace and definitely a capable car to use, even though using a Rolls-Royce as a drift car may be sacrilege to some of you. For slow speed drifting, this is a great choice and it's honestly feels so nice to slide. Definitely give this one a shot. Before we get into our next pick, I just wanted to let you know that if you're looking for a place to drift with other people or join organized car meets, join our Discord server link below. We're super close to 10,000 members and we'd love to have you join our awesome community. For our next pick, I have my eye on the Arena War Brutus. Most Arena War vehicles are pretty wild to begin with, making this a perfect candidate. Let's go ahead and tune this thing and throw this bad boy on some low grips. The Brutus so far is actually pretty slippery considering how massive it is. Getting a little bit difficult for that back end to kick out. I am really having to spam that clutch kick to slide it, but so far it's not too bad. Let's try stancing it and see what happens. We may have a new cursed drifting powerhouse on our hands. As I'm sliding the thing, the car feels like I'm driving on ice. The lack of oversteer is not a problem. That back end is really wanting to slide out on its own. It's a little slow, but honestly, that low speed is really helping to keep the control going, even with those crazier angles. Stancing this has actually transformed it into a different being. It's getting towards Dubster 6x6 territory if you saw the last one. I'm actually really loving how this thing feels. The boost on this thing is really helpful. It lets you drag on those longer drifts, get those really clean slides going, and honestly, this thing is great. Overall, it is still a pretty bulky vehicle, so it's not got the finesse of the sportier drifters, but this is no doubt very fun and wacky car to mess around in. Definitely try drifting this thing. It is a ton of fun. Our next choice is the Vapid Slamtruck, a notoriously overlooked and forgotten vehicle. So let's throw some life back into it by giving it a brand new purpose and have it reborn as a fully functioning drift machine. We're going to hit the mod shop and then we'll test how this thing slides. Now, before we've even tested this thing, I think it just about ticks every box to count as a cursed drift car. Like, this thing is just crazy long and it's super goofy. But let's see how it handles through a few corners. So what's really surprising to me is that the clutch kick's actually quite powerful on this thing. Even though this thing is heavy, the power is not even that bad. Off of first impressions, it's a little unstable in the corners, but it's performing alright for what it is. Let's slam this thing and see how it feels then. Handling this thing after it's been stanced isn't bad, it just feels strange. It can handle decently, but I'm really needing to use the car's weight to get that back end to come out. It's a little bit erratic in those corners, especially when those transitions are happening, but for most of these slides, this thing is fairly smooth. It's just gliding across the street. For any kind of quicker drifting though, this is not going to be the play. You're gonna have to either full send it into the corner and pray that you can hold out, or you might have to try something else, because getting wider angles without spinning this thing is very difficult. This is not a nimble car by any means, so I reckon you should just stick to those lower speeds. In my opinion, this isn't the most elegant thing in the world, but for what it is, it can drift pretty well, and it's definitely something interesting to try out. Maybe more of a troll build than anything serious, but you let me know what you think of it below. For our final guinea pig of tonight, we're testing the Hotring Sabre. Let's tune it up and see if it can slide. So now that we're on the track, this thing honestly feels just like a normal muscle car. It's strange that for a track racer that it has this low amount of grip. I haven't even stanced it at this point, and I guess it's because of the low grip tires, but this thing does feel pretty slippery in the corners, and I can hold an alright line with it. It is a little bit twitchy in the sense that it will grip up 1 second and then the oversteer is going to kick in the next. But let's see how it is once we stance it. So now that we've stanced it, the Sabre is still feeling a little bit inconsistent on how it wants to be handled. One moment it's really grippy and hard for the rear end to kick out, and then all of a sudden that oversteer just kicks in like crazy and is trying to send you into the shadow realm. I need to emphasize the power on this thing paired with how little grip it has once you've stanced it and on lows is nuts. You really do need to be careful to not spin it out by giving it too much power. Throttle control is the name of the game here. Looking at how it handles overall, it's a nice mix though between challenging and fun. This thing isn't the easiest thing to drift by any means, however you can still hold some really nice smooth lines in this thing if you get the control down. For those higher speeds, it's not the best thing out there, but for those slower speeds, this thing is a solid choice, sliding and gliding through those corners like nothing. It can't really hold the longest drifts out there, but for a track car, I don't think it handles too badly. But now I'm going to put the spotlight on you guys. In the comments, let me know about the weird and wacky cars you enjoy drifting. Now I understand some people struggle to afford expensive drift cars, so to find out what the game's best drift cars are for those on a budget, click this video here. If you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.